Unity Fest returns to Levings Lake, filling the afternoon with music and dancing. The event, hosted by Eliminate Racism 815, the Rockford Park District, and NAACP, brought community groups together to focus on building connections across cultures and generations. Our reporter Madeline Korzenewski spoke with the event organizers and shares more about their hopes for the connections made today.
In a city where census data shows more than 1 in 5 residents speaks a language other than English at home. Organizers of Unity Fest say understanding starts here.
We had a summit on racism a year ago, and we came out with 5 long-term goals and 5 short-term goals.
Ann Rundle is a co-founder of Eliminate Racism 815 and says one of the goals called for creating more diverse events, bringing people into spaces they might not otherwise share.
We're trying to get lots of people together that wouldn't ordinarily be together. We all can accomplish things locally that is difficult to have an impact on nationally or internationally.
One of those connections happened at Levings Park without saying a word.
Today we wanted to show the diversity within dance, which also has created unity across cultures.
For Fabi Williams' youngest dancers, what's built here can follow them long after they leave the stage.
Some of the people that my students dance with now are going to be their friends when they're adults.
Creating lasting changes was something even smaller.
You know, there's so much division in our world today. Smile at their neighbors and get to know people that they live around and develop friendships. That's where it all starts.
In Rockford, I'm Madeline Korzenewski.
Organizers say they hope to continue creating more events that bring different groups and organizations together throughout